Okay, so let's take candor before we move off of it. Let's flip to the other side.
Sure.
Now you feel like you want to be that person to give candor.
Sure.
You want to give that candid feedback to that leader because you care about that leader.
Sure.
You care about the organization and the business, and you see a pattern that is not going to bode well, but you're not sure how to do it. How do we start that conversation?
So can we dive into Randy Hain's famous permission rule?
Absolutely. That's where I was hoping you'd go.
So here's the scenario. You just laid it out beautifully. I want to give some difficult feedback, but I don't really know you, or maybe I'm a little concerned about how you'll receive the feedback. So this is what I always encourage clients to say, and I practice it myself. Hey, listen, Brandon, I've got an observation I want to share with you about our meeting yesterday. We were in a meeting together, and I want to give you some insight, but I want to ask you, are you open to this feedback? Are you open to me giving you some candid feedback about yesterday? And then you pause. And I've been doing this for 23 years, and everyone says yes. No one has ever said, well, no, you can't give me a candid observation. No, they always say yes. So once you've done that, I want you to picture that an invisible wall has come down. And once that wall is down, now you may still not be excited that I'm about to give it to you, but you gave me permission and I was courteous. So now that the wall is down, I have an opportunity to go through a door with you and give you the observation. But it's not enough just to give you the observation. I could say, hey, Brandon, I just want to let you know your presentation yesterday was terrible. Have a good day. That's like putting a hand grenade on the table. My obligation is to be helpful and really do something that is courteous and helpful. So I might say, hey, Brandon, yesterday in the presentation you gave, I really loved where you were going with theme. I thought it was really well done. But there were some slides that you showed that had some data that I think might be a little off. I've done some research on this. I think I've got the up-to-date data. Would you mind if I help you maybe correct those two slides so next time you'll have exactly the current data that we need? I'm very glad to help you with that if you're open to it. So I pointed out that maybe the presentation didn't land as well as it could have. I was respectful, but then I offered to help you. And I think that's the secret recipe to being candid and helpful and moving a conversation and an outcome into the right direction.
And there's also an element, you didn't call it out directly, but I know you well enough to know there's also a level of honesty that needs to go in here too.
Right.
You're going to be honest. You're not going to let courteousness and helpful gloss over also the presenting opportunity.
Yeah, I think, I'll use the word. I think it's candor with love, because you need to appreciate and understand that when I'm being candid with you, I'm doing it from a desire to be helpful. I care enough about you to tell you the truth. And I, as an experienced leader, have worked for years to make sure that people always know I'm not just telling you this because I want to get it off my chest. I actually would like to help you. And when you feel that sincerity, you're much more likely to receive it and do something with it.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. Okay, so as we're starting to kind of conclude our conversation, there's a third section in here. And the third section of your book is being good humans.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got a particular chapter I want to call out around civility.
Sure.
But before I do that, this book in some ways feels a little countercultural. So say a little bit more about that one from your perspective. What feels countercultural about the book? And maybe it's really this third section that really is the countercultural component. I'd be curious your thoughts around that, and then we can talk a little bit about that chapter on civility.
So I agree with you. I think there is a countercultural element. And I think the countercultural elements there are two of them. One is there aren't a lot of books about reflection written for busy business people. You and I engage with these people every single day, these wonderful men and women in business, and they're going so fast. And I think that there aren't a lot of resources out there to really help them get a little bit more grounded, live in the moment, and savor the moment. So I think that element of the book is a little countercultural. But that particular section you're talking about was my desire in my own little corner of the world to try to put out something positive and meaningful that would counter the anger and divisiveness, the vitriol that is everywhere. I mean, you everywhere you turn, there is screaming, there's anger, frustration. We're not talking to each other anymore. So what that section is a series of true stories of men and women. There's business and personal application of people that I've observed that have done things out of kindness, out of goodness, that have, in some of them I experienced firsthand, some I observed. But the section is really meant to give you a number of different ways that will inspire you to show up as a better human being. So it is a little countercultural to put that kind of thing out there, but I also can tell you from the readers that have digested the book, that's their favorite section because it gave them encouragement, hope, and a little inspiration. And for that, I'm grateful.
Yeah, hope is exactly where we need today. So just to kind of, I love the chapter on civility. So I would love to just talk a little more about when you think about civility, what does civility mean to you? And what does that look like?
So that's the accidental chapter in the accidental book.
Okay.
So I was 5 days away from turning the book into my editor.
Oh, really?
And it really,
5 days away.
And I've always wanted to write about civility, but I wasn't sure the right angle. So I get a phone call from someone who's not a friend, an acquaintance. They swim in a similar circle, do similar work to you and me, but I've just known the person for years, but not really friends. And they called me, which by itself was kind of weird because nobody calls anybody anymore. And he said, Randy, I know you to be a reasonable man. And based on your writings and what I know about you, I want to ask your opinion on a very difficult topic. I just would love to get your perspective. So he told me what it was. And I confirmed his assumption about my particular point of view. And he said, can I ask you questions? I just don't understand that side of this argument. And it's a very contentious argument that's very well known in America today. So I gave him my perspective, context, why I feel the way I feel. And 30 minutes went by. He was extremely respectful, very civil. And when I was done, I said—
But just for our listeners' purposes, he had an opposing view.
Well, yes, he did.
Initially. So he was looking at that same issue this way, and you were looking at the same issue this way.
Correct. We were diametrically opposed.
Yeah.
So when I finished, I said, to be fair, I'd like to understand your perspective. And he explained the counter view. Walk through his justification, why he felt that way. So an hour went by. Now, we've been on the phone for an hour, and as scheduled as you and I can be sometimes, this was just an hour that on a Friday afternoon, it was just, I can't believe I had the time available, but I did. And at the end of it, there was silence. And I said, what just happened? And he said, Randy, I just felt like I needed to have the courage to reach out and ask someone what they thought on this topic because all I ever hear is screaming. Everyone's screaming at each other, but no one's talking. I just wanted to get your perspective. Well, what's interesting, we spent 30 more minutes on the phone. We actually have a lot of things in common. And we wound up getting coffee, and I suspect we'll become friends. We found lots of things that we have in common, lots of common ground. So even though this issue, which divides America in many ways, could be something that keeps us apart, we found a lot of other ways to connect and be good humans with each other. So out of that conversation, I developed, and the chapter talks about this, a recipe for civility. And I use some examples from our talk, but also some other ways that we can be more civil and not resort to social media, but actually have a conversation in person or by phone. Talk through things, listen to each other, not rush to judgment. And I think it's a very good sort of end to the book, about we've got to find a way to be more civil and engage with each other. So I'm very proud of it. It was the unexpected chapter, but I think it turned out.